Alright friends, from this video topic, we'll start a new course where we'll see the concept of Next.js application and API backend as level 12th version. So inside this complete application, we'll create a CRUD-based application including some authentication. And additionally, inside Laravel, we have to use the concept of Sanctum token, means Sanctum authentication, to create authenticated APIs. So before going further, let's have a look of demo application that will create inside this entire application. And now we can see a landing page. This is our Next.js application. This is a landing page what basically we have created for this interesting project. And inside this landing page, here we have two buttons called home and login. And also here we have button called get started. So if I click on this login button, now we can see we on the login page. And additionally, into this login layout, also we have a link called register. So right now we don't have any account. Let's click on this register link. This is register where we have some form input fields. So what I will do, let's create a user. If I copy the email value, click on register button, and successfully, as we can see, that user registered. And one more thing, inside backend we are calling the APIs of level 12th version. If I go past the email and password of that user on login, and now we can see user logged in successfully, and here we have the links as dashboard and logout. So whenever if I click on this logout, the user will be logged out. Now let's go and let's log in one more time. Click on login, logged in successfully. Now here we have our CRUD operation. This is all about a product management app. So simply by the help of this add product form, we can create some products, and those products behind the scene inside database are saving according to user ID. Now here inside this right hand side, we can see the tabular format. And right now, this user does not have any product. So what we can do, let's create product number one, content, let's say content 1, let's say 100. For example, right now I'm not going to upload any banner image for this product. Click on add product, and now you can see product created, and this is our first product. Now let's go create one more product. So product number 2, here we have, let's say, sample content to 200, and this time I'm going to upload a banner image of product, for example this one. Click on add product, and now we can see product has been added. So let's say that I want to go and update this information. For example, I want to upload the banner image for this product number one. Click on edit button, and here we have the existing information. Click on choose file. For example, this one. Click on button, product data updated, and now as we can see that here we have the banner image of product one. Now let's say that I want to delete this product number 2. Click on delete button, and here it is asking about a confirmation. If I click on cancel, no activity, but whenever if I click on this button, and now you can see product deleted. So this is the overall application what basically we create inside this interesting journey, inside this interesting course. And finally, friends, this was our amazing demonstration. So this application we will create step by step inside this interesting journey. So inside this interesting course, we'll cover the concept of Next.js 15, and for API backend, I'll discuss the concept that how to create APIs with level 12th version. So this course will be step by step, so no need to skip any step inside this course. And I hope that whenever if you will complete this course, obviously you can add this project into your CV, into your resume. So for this interesting course, please hit the like button to like this video, subscribe to this channel so that I will be creating so much amazing courses for you. And I hope everything has been done. Now to start with the course, so let's go and deep into the interesting journey and into this interesting course. Alright friends, from this video topic, we have to start the development journey or the development concept of this interesting course where we have to use Next.js as our front-end tag and level 12th version as a backend. So before going further into the deep concept of this course, I want two different setup. So first I will start with the Next.js setup as a frontend. So install or to create a Next.js application, simply let's go back to project terminal. So we'll have two options. Either we can use npm or we can use npx. So here I'll use npx to create a Next.js setup. So npx, then after the command will be create next app at the rate latest, hit enter. Now, as you can see, it is asking about the project name. So I will simply call it as frontend. Hit enter. I'm going to use TypeScript. So yes will be selected by default. Hit OK. ESLint. Talent CSS. So I'm going to use Bootstrap. So no option will be selected. Hit enter. SRC directory. No option. App router. Yes option. Turbo pack. No option. Then import alias and no option. Automatically, as we can see that the installation process now started. So just wait for a while, and now successfully, as you can see that setup has been created. So this is all about front end. This is all about Next.js, what basically we have installed into our local system. So what I will do, I'll simply go first into my front end folder, what basically we have created, and I will try to open that setup into my VS Code editor. So just typing like code dot inside front end folder, hit enter, and successfully, as we can see that now I have opened our project setup into my VS Code editor. Now next after it, I will execute this setup into browser, and let's try to see its landing page. So here, to run the development server of this Next.js application, the command will be npm run dev. Hit enter. Successfully, as you can see that application started at localhost and 3000 is the port. So simply I'm pressing Ctrl, click into this link, and now we can see the landing page of Next.js application. Now before going further, let's try to create one more setup that is for API backend, and for API backend we have to use Laravel 12th version setup. So to install Laravel 12th version setup into a local system, we have two options. Either we can use Laravel installer or by means of composer command. Now if you are wondering that what is the command we have to run to install this Laravel 12th version, it's very simple. This is the official website of Laravel framework, that is laravel.com. Click on developers, then documentation, and now you can see we are inside the documentation part of this version number 12. Now here, if I scroll, so we can see that this is the first command. By using Composer, we can install the Laravel installer. So once it will be installed, so by using this command called Laravel new example-app, we can create an example app or a project of Laravel 12th version. So before making this video, what basically I did, if I go to project terminal, let's stop this development server. So before making this video, if I try to run this command called Laravel, hit enter. So inside my system, now you can see that installer successfully has been installed. But in your case, if let's say that you are not interested to go with this level installer, so obviously we'll have the second option by using composer command. So how to install by using composer? If I go and type a command here, so it will be composer create hyphen project space then level forward slash level and then after the project name. So let's say that I want to call it as API backend. So once we run this command, automatically this setup will be created into a local system of this level. Now this time inside this video topic, I will install by using the first option, that is Laravel installer. So for that, as you know, first thing first, we need Laravel installer into our local system. So if it is installed, we have to run a command called Laravel new, and it will be API hyphen backend. So here, this is the command we need to execute. So I will copy, go back to project terminal. Now let's go at the project root. Now inside this, I'll type this command called Laravel new API hyphen backend. Hit enter. And now we can see process has been started to set up our API backend. So here we have some option. So I will go with the first option. Let's type none, hit enter, and successfully, as you can see that now the process to start this API backend now started. So just we need to wait for a while. And then now we can see that it is asking which database will your application use. So I'll select MySQL. So I will go with the first option, MySQL, hit enter. So default database updated. Would you like to run the default database migrations? Just go with the default value. That is yes, hit enter. Would you like to run npm install and npm run build? So in this case, we don't want because this is only for the API backend. So just type no, hit enter, and successfully the setup now completed. So what I will do, first I will go into this setup. So cd, that's API hyphen backend, and I will try to open this setup into my VS Code editor again. Hit enter, and successfully this setup now also has been opened into my VS Code editor. So if I go and open .env file first, so inside this .env, if I scroll, and now we can see as per the settings, what basically it asks into a terminal. Now here we have db connection equals to MySQL. And one more thing, inside my local system, the username of phpMyAdmin is root and password is blank. So what basically it does, while going through the questionnaire of the command prompt, it also created a database that is API backend inside my phpMyAdmin, and also it migrated all the pending migrations. So to confirm, if I go back to phpMyAdmin, click on databases, and now as you can see here inside this database list, now we can see one more database that is called API underscore backend. And remember, this database we didn't create. So automatically after going through the questions and its pattern over command prompt, also it has created a database, and we can see all the default migrations now migrated. And it is possible because inside my local system, the username was root and password is blank. But in your case, if it is different, so first it will ask to create a database, and also it takes the confirmation that you want, like the default migrations will be migrated. Now successfully, here we have two setup, that is for front end, this is Next.js setup, and here we have another setup that is for API backend. Now next, I'll first start with the concept of API backend, so that by using the concept of level 12th version, first I'll create all the APIs what basically we need for front end. So here inside our demonstration, what basically we had seen the concept of authentication, that is login API, registration API, and then after we'll have our logout API. And also we had seen the complete section of product based CRUD operations. So here I'll create first two controllers, that is auth controller, and this controller will hold the logic of login API, register API, also will create profile API and logout API. And then after, I need product controller for all CRUD-based operation. This is API resource, and inside this we want to create some more methods which basically by default generated when we pass API as a flag inside our resource controller. So here we'll have an index method. By the help of index method, first thing first, we'll list all the products. Then after, by using store method, if we want to create some product save inside our table, so in that case, store method will be called. So instead of writing the method names, if I talk about the APIs, so in this case, we want list product API. Then after, we need create product API. Then after, single product detail API. Then after, update product API. And finally, here we'll have delete product API. So these are the APIs. So what basically we need from this API backend setup that we have to use for frontend. And additionally, authentication, I'll use the concept of Sanctum authentication. And one more thing, that if I go to this routes folder, we don't see a file called api.php. So additionally, also we have to generate a file called api.php. And for further, inside this video, also we have to handle in some cases if we get the course issue. So in that case, also we have to generate how to set this course.php. So now first I will start to create our product migration as well as product model. So to create a product model, product migration, we have to run two different commands. That is make model for the model file and make migration for the migration file. But in the alternative way, also we have a single command. By the help of that, we can create two different files. So what basically I will do, let's go to project terminal. I'll run only a single command that is called php addition make model, and the model name will be called product, and I will pass a flag called -m that also I need a migration file. Hit enter, and now as you can see, product model created, and here we have product migration. Let's go back to project editor, and then after, if I go first inside this app folder, models, here we have product.php, and to find migration, we have to go database, migrations, and here we have our products migration. So first what I will do, as we know that for CRUD-based operation of product section, we need the columns as ID, product title, product description, product banner image, and product cost. So here, by default, inside this table schema, we have the ID column and the two columns of timestamp that is created at and updated at. So what the columns we need? So here we need, first thing first, we need title. Let's 80 characters with the maximum length of this column. Then table. Then we want something, a description. So I will take long text, and here, let's say product description. And then after table, here the banner image. So let's say string. Actually, inside this column, I will save the banner image URL. So I will simply say, let's say banner image, let's say 220, and this column also will going to accept the null value. Then after, also we need the cost of that product. So table, let's say in teaser, and here I'll simply say cost, and this field is also going to accept the null value. Then after, also we have to attach the concept of user ID with the product. It means after login, authenticated user can only create products. So in that case, the user ID must needed for these products. So here we have to add one more column that is table for an ID, and inside this the column name we have called user ID, and this user ID will be linked constant with the users table. So if I save these changes, now we can see inside this products table, the columns will have called ID, title, description, banner image, cost, user ID, and this method will generate two different columns that is created at and updated at. So once we do all these things, let's go back to project terminal. And if I type this php addition migrate, hit enter, and now we can see migration completed. Let's go back to our database. Let's reload this structure. So here we have the products table. Go to structure, and now we can see successfully. Now we have created one more table inside our database. Now next, let's go back to project editor. Then I will open our model file, that is product.php, and inside here I'll add a property that is protected. It will be fillable. And here, let's pass all the column names and those columns where, in case of insertion, I need data. So while creating any data for our products table, the values we want for title, description, I need banner image, then we have to get the cost and a user ID. So these are the basically the column names of the table. So successfully, this is all about the setting of this product model and product migration. Now after this model and the migration file, now let's generate api.php for routes folder. So to generate api.php, it's very simple. Let's go back to project terminal, and here I'll run the command called PHP artisan install colon API. So by default, this command will go and install Sanctum authentication as well inside our project. Hit enter, and now we can see the process to set up Sanctum now started. And then now we can see it is asking some question here, that is, one new database migration has been published. Would you like to run all pending database migrations? So I'll go with the default value. So just type yes, hit enter, and now successfully, as you can see, that it has migrated one more table, that is personal access tokens. So to verify, if I go to database, click here, and now we can see inside our database, here we have one more table, and that is called personal access tokens. Now let's go back to project terminal. Also, we can see a line that is please add has API tokens, which is a trait to user model. So it simply means that if I want to use the concept of sanctum tokens, this trait we have to use inside our user model. So how to use? Simply let's go inside user.php, and here let's say use has API tokens, and this will come from Sanctum. So once it will be imported, let's copy and simply choose inside this user model. So it simply means that whenever if we create the login API and authenticate user by using email and password, so after authentication also we can generate a Sanctum token value. Now successfully everything has been done, that is migration. Then after a model all about user model configuration, and also if we go to routes folder, and now we can see api.php. So once we install the command called install colon API, it means that we are able to use this has API tokens, and also we have a middleware available that is called Auth Sanctum. Now let's create our first controller, and that is Auth controller, so that by using Auth controller we can create our authentication based APIs. Let's go back to project terminal, and here PHP artisan, let's say make controller, and I will call it as Auth controller. Hit enter. Our controller class created. If I go back to project editor, let's go inside HTTP. Here we have auth controller, and inside auth controller, first I will import our user model. So use user.php, and then after inside here, let's create our method. This is for register API, and inside this API, I will pass the values like name, email, password, and I will pass confirm password. And here, let's say public function register. Then after we want for the login API, and for login API, I will pass the email and password. And here public function login. Then after also we need two more APIs, and this is for profile API. So public function, and I will call it as profile method. And one more thing, that this API will be protected, which simply means that we need a token value. And that token, like Sanctum token, we can generate after user authentication from login API. So after profile API, now the file API we need, and that is our logout API. So here, public function, and let's call it as logout. So all these methods now we need, and all the functionality we need for this auth controller. Let's go and open our api.php from routes folder. So first I will go, let's comment all these lines of code, and here I will first import, let's say use auth controller from controllers folder, let's say route. I'll use post request method, and the first API we have called register. It will come from auth controller class, and from that controller we have the method as register. Then after, let's say route, I'll use for the login API, and here auth controller class, and from this controller class we'll have the method as login. And remember, we have two more APIs, that is Profile API and Logout API, but those two APIs routes will be protected. So in that case, what I will do, route, and here I will use the concept of group. And inside this group, let's pass an array, and I will pass middleware, and inside middleware, I'll use the concept of Auth Sanctum. So let's copy this middleware and just pass here. And inside this second argument, I will pass the callback function. So it simply means that whenever if I try to call the profile API or the logout API of this route group, obviously that have to first pass this auth sanctum the middleware. And to access all these routes, we have to pass the sanctum token value. So here route I'll call using get method. This is for profile API, and here auth controller, and here we'll have the profile method. If I will copy, let's put, in this case I will call the logout API, and here it will be logout. So successfully here we have the different routes like the registration API, login API, profile API, and logout API. Now after this API.php, let's go back to auth controller, and now we have to start the process to implement the code for this registration API, login API, profile API, and logout API. So first I will start with this register method. So let's go here. I will call first the request class, and this is the request object. So by using this request object, let's call validate method. So inside request, as we know, to create any user, we want name, email, and password. Let's put some validation rules. So this field is required, email, this is also required, and what the value we pass for this name will be of a string type, and also what the value we pass for this email should contain a valid email pattern, and also the email what basically we use for any user while registration, that will be unique throughout the users table, and the columns to match with this email column. Then here for password, it is also required. So once the data what basically we pass inside our request, if it is validated, let's go and pass data here. So all the valid data will go and stored inside this data variable. Then after, by using this user model, I'll call the create method, and inside this create method, let's pass this data variable. And then after, let's say return response JSON method, and inside here, let's say status equals to true, and here as is equals to, let's say user registered successfully. Save these changes. So this is the first API concept implementation, and that is all about registration API. Now let's go for this login API. So inside here, let's pass request class, request object. So in case of login, validate, we want the request parameters as not name, email, and password. Now, if I talk about the validation rules, so it will be required first, and the value what will pass for this field should contain a valid email pattern, and for this password, it is required. Now, then after, it is very important because by the help of login API, also we have to generate the sanctum token value. So here, what I will do, I'll use the concept of auth facade. So before using, as we can see, this auth facade is coming from eliminate support and facades. So I will use this one. So whenever, if I use automatically, we can see that it is now imported.
So
And by using this auth facade, I will call a method that is called attempt. And look at here, inside this attempt method, we have to pass credentials. So credentials are nothing. This is the combination of email and password. So what the value we are passing into login API. So basically we have to read by using this request object only method, and we have to read the value of email and password. If suppose in case what the email and the password what basically we are passing into request, if it does not matches with any data inside users table, so in that case return response JSON And here it will be status equals to false and message will be invalid credentials. Otherwise, if user exists, what I will do, first I will read the user data. So by using auth facade, also will have the option to read the user data by using this user method. Now this time, this is the user object. So by the help of this object, I will call a method that is called create token. And inside here, let's pass the token name. So I will call it as my token. And from here, I'll read the plain text token. Now, this line of code is basically going to return the sanctum token value. And here, let's return response JSON. So, status equals to true, message equals to user logged in, and here token equals to token. Here we have some spelling mistake, semicolon. Now, this is the successful implementation all about our login API. Now, for profile API, it's very simple. User equals to auth facade, and I will call user method. So, here let's return response JSON, and here status equals to true, message equals to user profile data, and here it's a user equals to user. And for logout API, here simply user equals to, or instead of user, I will call by using auth facade, and also here we'll have a logout method. Now let's go return JSON, status equals to true, and message equals to user logged out successfully. So finally, this is all about our authentication APIs implementation of this auth controller, where we have covered all about this registration API, then login API, then here we have profile API and logout API. Now next, we have to work over our product controller, which we have to work over all these APIs. What basically we have discussed, like list product API, create product API, single product details API, update product API, and delete product API. Now let's first create this product controller. So simply, I'll go to project terminal, PHP artisan, make controller, and here I'll create product controller. This controller is a resource controller, and also this is an API resource. Actually, here, if we pass only this resource flag, so it will contain a resource controller, and resource controller also contains some methods which basically returns some view files. But inside our API controller, we don't have any concept of view files. So in that case, I have to pass an API flag which basically instruct this resource command that we only need a resource controller which does not have any layout files. So simply hit enter, and now we can see that here we have one more controller. So to confirm, if I go to project setup, and inside this controllers, here we have product controller. And if I see all about the methods of this controller class, so now we can see this is index method. So by using index method, we can return all the products according to user ID from products table. Then after, here we have the store method. So by using a store method, we can add or create any product for products table. Then after, here we have show method. So by using the concept of this show method, we have returned single product information on the basis of product ID. Then after, here we have the update method. So by using update method, we can update the existing data of product into table on the behalf of this product ID. And finally, here we have the destroy method, which is responsible to delete any product from table with the help of this product ID. Now next, after creating this product controller, now let's get started to implement all the logical concept of these API methods. So first I will start with this index method, which is going to return all the products data from products table on the basis of user ID. And one more thing, if I go back to project terminal and here to list all the application routes, if I type the command called php artisan route colon list, hit enter. So inside our application, now we can see these are the routes right now available, that is of login, API login, which is calling the login method from auth controller, then after logout API, profile API, and registration API. So as we know that in this also we have to cover the product APIs. So how to create our product APIs so that as we can see this is a product resource controller. So either you can create each line of route by using get method, post method, put patch method and delete method. But here as we are working with the resource controller, so also we have the concept of API resource. What basically I mean, let's go back to api.php and one more thing, all the methods of this product controller is also protected, which means to call any API of this product controller, also we have to pass authenticated token value. So simply we have to go inside this middleware, inside this route group, and here let's first import use product controller, and this is a resource controller. Now let's create a resource route, a set of resource route. So to create simply route, then after I'll call API resource, and here I have to pass products, which is our section name, and then here it is product product controller. Now if I save these changes, and I think we have some error, unexpected token class. Okay, let's go and cut this line. And I think here we have a single colon. Let's pass double colon, save these changes. So once we pass, if I go back to project terminal again and type the same command, and now we can see this time instead of apart from login, logout and our registration API, also we have much more APIs that is of product using get request type, and this route is going to call the index method of product controller class. If I call the same route, that is API products using post request type, so in this case it will call the store method of product controller class. So we have two options to create our APIs route by means of single route for each method of product controller, or it's better it's a resource controller. So why we not we can use the concept of API resource. Now let's get start the concept of our logical implementation of all these methods. So for the index, let's say user ID equals to auth, and here I will call user method and I will take ID value. Then after simply to get all the products equals to product model, then I will call where method, and inside our product table we'll have a column called user ID. So I have to match with authenticated and get all data. So here return response JSON, and it will be status equals to true, and here let's say products equals to products. Now successfully we have completed our first API, that is to list all the products according to user ID from products table. Now let's go for this store method. It means by using this store method, we can create or add any product into a products table. So in this case, what I will do, let's say request object, then I will call validate method. And one more thing, while creating any product, we want data for this title, description, banner image, cost, and user ID. But for the time being, if I talk about the required parameters, so title is only need or the user ID is only need. Rest description, banner image and cost, these are optional. So what we can do here, only put the title, and this is only the required field. Then here for the user ID, so data, and if The title is available, so in that case, the valid data will return inside this data variable. So data user ID equals to auth helper function, then user method and ID property. Now, after this user ID, I will add one more checkpoint if suppose we are uploading some banner image with the product's data. So in that case, first thing first, product image or the banner image should be uploaded inside our application. So what I will do here, let's say if request has a file, so has file and the key name like banner image, if it contains, so request object file here call banner image, I will call store method so that that file I will store into a storage folder into public disk. So what I mean, whenever if I try to upload any banner image with the product's data, so in that case, first I will upload the banner image into a storage folder app, and we can see inside this app folder, here we have two disks called private and public. So inside this public folder, I'll create one more folder that is called products of this public disk, and inside that products folder, I'll upload that product banner image. So here inside this store method, the folder name we have to create called products, and this folder will be created inside this public disk. In return, it will return the file name. So what I will do inside this data array, let's take a key called banner underscore image. Now finally, here we have inside data called title, description, cost, and here we have the user ID and banner image. So if we closely look over the data schema of this table, so we need all these data, and now this time we have all these data. So now next, what we can do by using this product model, let's call create method, and inside this create method it's very simple, just pass data key, and in return let's say return response JSON, and here let's say status equals to true, message equals to product created successfully. So finally, this is our one more API of product controller. So here we can see, okay, let's remove this line of code. So here we have the index method to read all the products according to user ID, and this is to create a new product for our products table. Then after, here we have a method, and by the help of this method, actually we have to read single product data. Now in this method, I will use the concept of route model binding. So instead of ID, what I will pass directly the product model and product object. So whenever while calling this method, and this method basically we will call if I go to API routes. So if we see here, so by using get request, if we are calling API products, and here we have the product ID, so in that case we are calling the show method of product controller. So it means whenever if we pass the ID, it means product ID automatically, here we have the model, and by the help of this model, it will fetch the product information from product table. So here let's say return response JSON, and it will be, let's say, status equals to true, message equals to, let's say, product data found, and here, let's say, product equals to, and simply product. Now, this is all about to display single product information. Now, here we have two more methods that is for update product information as well as destroy product information. So, here also in this delete method or delete API, let's pass route model concept. So, product and product object. And it's very simple. By using this product here, I'll call delete method. And in return, let's return response JSON status equals to true and message equals to, let's say, product deleted successfully. And finally, here we have the single API left, and that is update product API. Now in place of a string ID, let's change that is product model, and here we have the product object. Now this method will be called whenever if we hit the route, that is by using put or patch request, and this is the API URL called API forward slash products forward slash product ID. It will call the update method of this product controller. So it means whenever if we pass the product ID, so in the concept, what basically we have used, that is route model binding, this product object will contain the existing product information. So here, what I will do first, I will going to implement the validation rule for product title because it is required. So title required. Let's put inside this data, and this data is going to contain all the data what we have inside our request. And then after, also we have to add one more checkpoint. If suppose we are uploading any new banner image, so in that case, old banner image first we have to delete from table as well as also delete from folder structure, and then after we have to upload new banner image. So in that case, what we can do, if here we have the request, let's say has file, and here we have to check that banner image. This is the key we have to take. And here, what we can do, also we have to check that if all banner image exists. So product, which is going to contain the product information. If we have the banner image, this is the key. We are saving the data banner image. So if it contains any value, so in that case, let's say storage, this will come from storage. This will come from eliminate support facades, and by using this method, actually we have to go first into our public folder, and then after I will call the delete method, and here we have to only pass product, and it will be banner image. So once we delete the existing information, existing banner image, what basically we have to do here, so simply request file, and here banner image, and I will call store method. We have to store that file into products folder, and it will be inside public disk. Save these changes. So inside this data, we have all those values, what basically is available inside request. Then after, here we have the file information, and in return, it will return the data of file, and let's call it as banner underscore image. And finally, let's call this product object, and I will call update method, and inside this let's pass our data key. So finally, this is all about the implementation of return response JSON, and here status equals to true and message equals to, let's say, product data updated. Now successfully, all the methods of this product controller to perform all about CRUD operation now step by step successfully we have completed. So this is the complete implementation of API backend, what basically we need for our Next.js application. So let's close all these files. Now inside our API backend, here we have the complete set of APIs, what basically we need for our Next.js application. So what is the next step? Simply, let's go back to our first setup, that is our front end. And now inside this front end setup, first thing first, I need some packages. Let's open a new tab. So I will start first to create our layout by using CSS. So for that, I'll use the concept of bootstrap package. Then after all the APIs, I'll use Axios. Then after to display the toaster messages of every operation, I'll use the concept of React Hot Toast. And also we have seen inside demonstration, while deleting any product, also we have to show alert confirmation. So for that, I will use the concept of sweet alert to package. And finally, to save the information, like after login, to save the token value. So instead of using local storage, I'll use the cookie. So for cookie, I'll use a package called js-cookie. So these are the packages at the initial stage I want to install inside this Next.js application. So if I open package.json, we can see here we have only three dependencies like React, React-DOM, and Nest. Let's go back to project terminal. And here, now instead of using this API backend, let's go one folder back. Then I will go into this frontend folder. And here, to install all these packages using a single command, simply we have to type npm install. And here, bootstrap, axios, then react hot toast, then after sweet alert, and then after js-cookie. Also, we can use either install or simply I. So what I will do, I will copy the overall command. Let's go back to project terminal. So inside this front-end setup, let's go type, hit enter, and now we can see installation started. And successfully, as we can see that it has added all these packages into our application. So to confirm, if I go back to package.json, and now we can see that inside this dependencies, all the required packages now successfully gets installed. Now after this package.json, if I talk about the folders and files, what basically we need to complete this interesting course with this Next.js setup. So at project root, first file we need that is called env.local. Then after, also we need a folder called context. And inside this context folder, I'll create a provider which is going to provide some helper functions. And also at project root, I'll create one more folder and let's call it as components. Then after, I'll go into this app folder and inside this app folder, I'll go and create our first folder and let's call it as auth. And inside this auth folder, I need a file called page.tsx. And inside this file, I'll write all the code of login and registration. Then after, inside this app folder, also create one more folder and I will call it as dashboard. And inside this dashboard folder, let's create a file called page.tsx. So after creating all these files, let's close. Now I will open this .env file. It means .env.local and here I'll create our first environment variable file and that is let's say next underscore public underscore API underscore URL. So if I talk about the API URL of API backend setup, so for that, if I go back to project terminal of this API backend like Laravel application, let's go inside view, open terminal, and here if I start the development server, PHP, partition serve, hit enter, and now we can see this API backend now started at 8000 port and this is our API URL. So if I copy, if I open a new tab, hit enter and now we can see this is the landing page of API backend. So if I copy this project URL, let's go back to a front end setup inside this file .env.local. If I paste, remember this is project URL. If I talk about the API URL, let's go to project terminal cd API backend. And if I run the command called php artisan route colon list, and now we can see inside each of the API from this list has a prefix called API forward slash. Either API is of login, register, profile, logout, or any of the CRUD based APIs. All these APIs have a common prefix called API forward slash. It means after this project URL, either we can add API forward slash or it's forward slash API. Save these changes. Now let's close this file and then after, I'll create some files inside this components folder. So inside this components folder, first I'll create a file called loader.tsx. So it simply means that this will be a component file and by the help of this component file, we'll create a loader in case of any ongoing process. Then after, I need one more component file and I will call it as navbar.tsx. And by using this component file, simply we have to load the navigation of our entire application. Let's close this folder. I'll go then inside this context folder. And inside this context folder, I'll create, let's say, app provider.tsx. and it is some kind of a helper file. By the help of that, we will provide some global functions what basically we use inside each of the component file. Now, after creating some file inside this components or inside this context folder, let's go inside app. And inside this app, already we have created two folders called auth and dashboard. And inside each folder, we'll have two files. Like inside auth, here we have page.tsx. And inside this dashboard, here we have page.tsx. And one more thing, if suppose you are totally beginner in Next.js of this course, and if you are wondering that from where this whole content is loading of this Next.js application, so let me tell you that whenever if we run the command called npm run dev, what basically happens, all the content of this page.tsx of this app folder page.tsx dynamically gets loaded inside this layout.tsx inside this children. So if I open this page.tsx, what the content we can see inside this file all is now loading inside this landing page. So and then now next, first I will start the concept of this course from this first file called layout.tsx. So from this layout.tsx, let's start some customization. So first I will remove this font Google, then I'll remove this global CSS. Let's remove all this code. So after metadata, here we have the title. So I will change the title and I will call it as my next app. Then here, let's change the description. So I will pass something CRUD paste Next.js app with Laravel. From this body class, let's remove all these things. And as we know that inside this application, we are using Bootstrap. So what I will do here, let's say import. I will import Bootstrap from dist folder, from CSS folder, and I will include a file called bootstrap.mean.css. So once we have installed Bootstrap package to this setup, so we are able to use this bootstrap.mean.css from Bootstrap package. And then after, if I go here inside this body and within h1 tag, if I write welcome to Next.js app. And one more thing for the time being, let's remove this children from here. It simply means that page.tsx content is not going to load inside this layout.tsx. So if I save these changes, and now we can see that welcome to Next.js app. So this is all about a bit customization of layout.tsx. Now then after, here we have to work over this loader.tsx and navbar.tsx. Now let's create a basic skeleton of a component here. So const loader, and inside here let's return export default, and it will be loader. Let's copy all this code. Then I will go to this navbar component, and here let's say navbar and navbar. And one more thing, all these files like loader component, navbar component, here inside this page.tsx inside this dashboard, we want some HTML. So what basically I did before making this video, already we have some HTML code inside this GitHub repository called github.com/OWT hub, and click on repositories. Then go inside this repository called Level 12 version Next.js app. We will find a folder called HTML. Just go inside that folder, and now I can see that here we have some HTML files, that is auth.html, dashboard.html, home.html, loader.html, and navbar.html. And let me tell you that all these HTML files are using Bootstrap. So let's open first this loader.html. We can see bootstrap.mean.css. So I'll just copy this div id loader. Let's copy, go here inside this loader component, and inside this return, let's paste all these code. Now we can see here we have red colored error. So let me tell you that class is a reserved keyword. So what we have to do, instead of using class, just we have to add class name. So copy and paste, copy and paste. Now this is loader component. And one more thing, just go inside this navbar component, and for this HTML, if I open navbar.html, and here we have the complete code. So I'll just copy this nav tag. I have copied all the code. Let's go here and put inside this return statement. And here we have lots of error all about this class keyword. So what I will do, I'll just copy class equals to double quotes, control H, and I will replace with this class name. Click here and successfully, as we can see that now class is replaced with the class name. Then after, I'll go and first remove all these comment lines. Let's remove this one, and this one. Now inside this UL, now we can see that here we have some anchor tags and also some navigation menu items like dashboard, logout, home, and login. So it means that whenever the user will be logged in, so after login, these are the items will be visible called dashboard and logout. And whenever if the user is logged out, so in that case, he will be or the user will be able to see like home and login. And one more thing, before implementing all these things, also we have to convert the anchor tag into link tag. So what to do here? Let's say import link from, and it will be next link. And in place of this anchor tag, just use, if I go here, let's type capital L link tag. It is just like anchor tag. Let's cut this class name and href attribute. Just go here and put it here. Now let's cut this text, that is my next app, and then after I'll paste in between this link tag. Then after here we have another anchor tag. So in the same way, I'll just replace this anchor with this link keyword and just close with this link keyword. So here we have link. This is okay because this is a button tag. I want to replace only the anchor. Here we have the anchor, and this is anchor tag, and this is anchor tag. Save these changes. Now here we have two layouts ready, that is loader.tsx and navbar.tsx. Now after this, what I will do, I will close first this loader.tsx. Let's close this navbar.tsx, and also let's go and undo the children from here. So inside this layout.tsx, I will load import, and I will load this navbar component. Let's copy, go here, and in place of this h1 tag, this is only for this purpose. Let's add this navbar component. And one more thing, as we know that also we are using the concept of React Hot Toaster to display the notifications in case of any ongoing process. So to display the toaster notifications, also we have to create a toaster container. So to create the toaster container, let's import first. So import, and this is toaster toaster from React Hot Toast. Let's copy, and after this navbar or before navbar, let's call this component file. Now save these changes. So this is all about layout.tsx, where we have added two components, that is toaster component from React Hot Toast, and this is navbar component what basically we have created inside the components folder. And automatically whenever if we used here, it has been imported, as we can see, navbar from components folder and from navbar. Now then after, let's go and open page.tsx. This is the default page.tsx. So what I will do, I'll remove all this content from here. Let's remove as well this styles from here, and in this return, instead of using parenthesis, I will use fragment. And remember, inside our GitHub repository, also we'll have a file called home.html. So what I will do, I'll just copy all the code of hero section, feature section, footer, just copy all this code, and here inside page.tsx, inside this return, let's paste all these code. Now here we have the same error. So what we can do, just we have to go and copy this class equals to double quotes, control H, and replace with this class name. And now we can see that all the classes now replaced with this class name keyword. Now next after, let's remove this HTML comment lines from this HTML code. So feature section, if I scroll down, here we have the footer. Now inside this HTML, Then after also we have to work over this anchor tag, and also we have to work over this image tag. Now in place of anchor tag, I want to use link component from next link, and in place of image tag, I want to use the image component from next image. So simply first let's copy this link component, and in place of anchor tag, I'll go and replace. Let's copy this image component, and in place of image, let's put here just close, and either we can pass something like this with equals to double quote 60, or within this curly pair 60. Let's cut this curly pair 60, and here we have the image. Let's put here image, put here self close this image component. Now what I will do, in place of double quotes and 60, curly pair 60, 60, and for this last one 60, and here it will be called 60. Now if I save these changes, and one more thing, what the file we are loading here, that is file.svg, window.svg and globe.svg, all these files now you can see by default available inside this public folder, and here you can see file.svg, globe.svg, and here we have window.svg. So once we save this file, let's go back to browser inside my next app, and now we can see our landing page has completely changed. Here we have the navigation, like the navbar component, dashboard logout, home login, and then after this is all about page.tsx, which has been converted from this page.html like home.html to page.tsx. Now after this page.tsx of app folder, now let's get started to work over page.tsx of auth folder and page.tsx of dashboard folder. What basically I mean, if I go back to app folder, now we can see here we have two folders called auth and dashboard, and inside each of the folder here we have page.tsx and page.tsx. So what basically this page.tsx of auth folder, so this file will be responsible to handle all about the authentication chapters like login and registration. And if I talk about this page.tsx of this dashboard folder, so this file will handle all the functionalities of CRUD based operation whenever the user will be logged in. So it means by using page.tsx of dashboard, we'll have a product form. By the help of that form, we'll call product API, add our data. Also, we'll have a tabular format to list all the products into that table. So first I will start page.tsx of this auth folder, which basically handles our login and registration. So let's create first all about the component skeleton. So const, it will be auth, and here React from React. Let's first import React from, it will be React dot functional component, and here inside this, what I will do, let's say return, and after this, let's say export default, and it will be auth. Save these changes. So the same thing I will repeat for this dashboard. Let's open page.tsx from dashboard. So const dashboard. Here it will be React, import React from React. So functional component, and then after let's return fragment, and here it will be export default, and let's say dashboard. Save these changes. If I talk about the content of this page.tsx of this auth component, so let's go back to browser inside this GitHub repository. Here we have auth.html. So from this auth.html, what I will do, I'll just copy this div container from here to here. Let's copy, and I will put inside this return fragment. And here, as expected, let's copy this class equals to double quotes and replace with this class name keyword. Now next, after this class name, let's remove first this HTML comment lines from here and from here. Now let's go and replace this style attribute. So in place of double quotes, I will use expression based. So curly pairs, then width equals to the same value called 400 pixel. Now inside this form tag, I can see here we have the input field, but inside each of the input field, we don't have any closing tag. So at last, just add forward slash. Let's go here inside this form tag and also inside this HR tag. Let's add forward slash, and inside each of the input field, let's add a forward slash. And successfully, after doing all these things, now I can see that all the error has gone from this page.tsx of this auth folder. If I go back to browser, now how to check that the page.tsx of auth folder? So for that, let's reload first. We don't have any error. Now, if I go and click on this login link, so this login link will redirect to forward slash auth. Now, if I go and let's open our navbar component. So for that, we have to go inside components, navbar.tsx, and inside this file, if I see, now we can see the login link. And inside this login link, look at here, href attribute equals to forward slash auth. So it simply means that this auth simply means that we have to go inside app folder, inside auth folder, and what the content we have inside this page.tsx, simply load that. So if I go and click on this link, it is calling the page.tsx of auth folder. And now I can see that the page.tsx file have the content of login section and register section. But whenever, if we work on the functionality, so on the basis of some condition, will hide that at a single time any one form will be visible. Now let's work over this dashboard. So whenever if I click right now, as we can see, it is going inside page.tsx of dashboard folder, but right now we don't have any content inside page.tsx of dashboard. So if I go to confirm, now I can see that content is totally empty. So to put some content, let's go inside GitHub repository, click on dashboard.html, and from here, I'll just copy all these D from here, copy, go to page.tsx, and just paste all these code here. Now, as expected, we have the same set of errors. So what I will do, first I will go and let's do some indent here. So formatted. Then after I will go and remove class equals to double quotes with class name. Then after let's remove this HTML comment lines updated. Then after I will go and add the closing tag over all these input fields. So forward slash here, and in place of image tag, I will use image component. So let's say import image from next image, and in place of this one, simply let's say image component, and here style attributes. So what I will do, let's say style equals to expression, and inside this I will first use the width here. So I want 100 pixel. So 100 pixel. Then after I want height equals to, and here it will be 100 pixel. Now once we do all these things, let's remove this, and also display equals to null. Also we have to add here. So it will be display equals to none. Save these changes, and also we forgot to add closing tag. Then after here we have the input. Let's add the closing tag, and here we missed. So everything has been done for this first form tag. Let's scroll down to this table, and inside this table, let's add the image component in place of image tag. And the same thing we have to repeat here. So what I will do, let's remove, and it will be curly pairs width equals to, it will be 50 pixel, and height equals to, it will be 50 pixel. Save these changes. Now once you save, let's add closing tag. Save these changes. Now once you go back to browser And okay, here we have some error that is runtime error, and I can see image with src hash is missing required width property. So this is error of image component. And okay, I got the issue, and issue is of like instead of passing width and height, let's remove from here, and I will add something like this: width equals to 100 pixel and height equals to 100 pixel. If I save these changes, and hopefully we'll get some more error because image link is also blank. Let's go back to browser, and here we have the error called invalid URL. So for the time being, what we can do, just go and let's remove this image tag, or what I will do, let's add comment, and let's add a comment of this image tag or this td. Only I want this image tag, and also here let's remove this one, and I will add width equals to 50 and height equals to 50. Let's add comments, save these changes. Now, if I go to browser, and now we can see that everything is okay. And here, like page.tsx of dashboard folder, and here we have like a form. By the help of this form, we can create our products by the help of API. And as you know, like API wants the data. If I go to products table, so the API want the data like title, description, banner image, and cost. And obviously, after login, we can get the user ID. So we want four different fields inside form. And as per the requirement, here we have four form input fields like title, description, cost, and the banner image. And here we have the tabular format. And inside this tabular format, we have to call the index method of our product controller. And from where we can list all the products from products table on the basis of logged in user ID. So I think that all the layouts now completed. This is our home HTML like page.tsx. Then after here page.tsx of auth folder, and this is dashboard page.tsx of dashboard folder. Now, in a moment, we'll start the development concept so that on the dynamic basis, how to call the APIs and how to bind the data with this page.tsx templates. Now, next after this, let's go back to app folder. Let's open auth and page.tsx file. Now, by the help of this layout, actually, we are creating the layout of login and registration. Let's go back to browser. So here I click on login. So this is the layout of login and register. Now here I'll use the concept of use state hook, and by the help of that these two forms I'm going to merge. So how to do? Let's go back to editor, and then after inside this component, let's say const, I'll create is login state manager set is login equals to use state, and here it will contain the boolean value, and by default the value of this state variable is equals to true. So whenever if this is true, it means that the layout will render the login page. So let's copy this state variable, and once we use this use state, automatically use state will be imported from this React package. Then after I'll go here inside this s3. So this is login text. So what I will do, I'll use an expression. So if is login equals to true, so in that case, this will be login page. Otherwise, otherwise it will be register page. Then after, let's go and first remove this S3 element from here. And if I look over this form input field, so here we have like email, password, and inside this register form, here we have name, email, password, and confirm password. So it means this field, like input type name field, is available when is login equals to false. So if is login equals to false, it means that I want to render the registration form. So what I will do, let's get this first input field from here and put inside this form, and then after I'll go and let's remove after this password confirmation and just put after this password confirmation. Then after I'll go and remove all these things from here, save these changes. So if I go, and here we have some error that is you are importing an OK inside Next.js. We have two types of component, that is server component and client component. So as we are using the concept of use state hook method, so it must be the client based component. So here use client. If I save these changes, let's go back to browser and now we can see that error has been resolved. And here is login equals to true, so which means that I am interested to open the login form. But inside this login form, we can see that here we have the fields like name, email, password, and confirm password. But inside this login, I only need email and password. So how to restrict? Let's go back to editor, and then after I'll use an expression. So if is login, like is login, if it is true means if it is false. So in that case, I want to display this input type name field. So simply I'll cut from here, then I'll go here and just use it here. And the same goes for password confirmation. So I'll use one more expression. So like is login, and here let's get this password confirmation and just put here. If I save these changes, if I go, now you can see that inside this login form, we have email and password. But in a moment, if I change, for example, this is login to false, if I save these changes, and now you can see this is the register page, and in which here we have the fields like name, email, password, and confirm password. So conditionally, also we have to change this button label. Let's go here. First, I'll make this as a true value. And inside this button label, let's remove this login. So if we is login, it means if it is true, so in that case, the button label will be, let's say, login. Otherwise, it will be register. And here we have the register. It means whenever if I click on this button, so after click, we have to toggle the value of this state variable from true to false, or if it is false, then we have to toggle from false to true. So how to handle? It's very simple. Just go here and maybe let's go and put register here. Let's add on click event to this p tag. So on click, and here I will call the state manager, that is set is login, and here simply I have to toggle the value exclamation and it will be is login. And one more thing, if I go here to register, this text only gets visible if is login equals to false. So let's cut this line, and inside this expression, if it is login, if it is false, then automatically it will be converted into true. And if it is true, so this will be the text. This will be text. Otherwise, the text will be something called click here to login. And I think here we have some error, and error instead of question mark, just put colon. Let's do some formatting. Now, if I save all these changes, and one more thing also we can do here, let's get this on click event from here, and let's remove this register from here. So if is login, okay, let's go and remove this exclamation. So if is login equals to true, so in that case, we have to display register button. Otherwise, we have to display, let's say already have an account, question mark, and I'll use span tag, and inside this span tag I'll use is login if it is true. So in that case, let's say register, otherwise it will be login. And inside this span tag I will just put on click event, and here I'll use style attribute, and I'll simply say cursor equals to pointer. Save these changes. Now let's go back to browser, and now we can see like is login equals to true. So in that case, here we have the login, email and password, login button label, and here we have don't have an account and register. And whenever if I click on this register, and now we can see register all these input fields, and also we can see that it is not changing. Let's reload here one more time. And now you can see it has changed to whenever if I click on login. So login layout. Now here we have a register. click here, register layout and login link. So I will put a space in between the two words. So let's go and put a space here. Save these changes. Now, whenever I will go, so we can see register, then there is a space. If I click on login, so register and login. So successfully, now by using page.tsx of all folder, now we have handled two layouts into a common place, that is login and register. Now let's get started to handle the functionality. Go back to editor. So if I go at the top of this file, first we have to create an interface here. So interface, let's say form data, and inside this form data, we can see that here we have the fields like name, email, password, and confirm password. So inside this form data, what I will do name, and one more thing, that name is also like required in case of registration, but in case of login, it is non-visible field. So it means name equals to question mark colon. It will contain the string value, then after email string value, then password, string value, and finally confirm password. So if I go and check attribute, so it will be password confirmation. Let's copy and just put here. And this field is also like handled conditionally, so question mark, and it is string. Save these changes. Now then after, let's create one more state variable. So const form data, let's say set form data equals to use state, and it is of type form data, and initially I will pass an object, and inside each of the field like name equals to the initial value will be an empty value, email empty value, then after password empty value, and finally here we have password confirmation, and it is also containing the empty value. So successfully, this is the interface, and this is all about the state variable to handle the form data. Now then after, I'll go to each of the input field. Let's do some formatting. So class equals to, then here name attribute, type equals to placeholder and required. Now if I go here for this second input field, class name, type here placeholder and required. Then after here for password, so class name, here we have type placeholder and required. Now finally we have to do the same pattern of formatting with this password confirmation. So class name attribute, here we have the type placeholder required and closing bracket. Now then after, I will add some more attributes inside each of the field. So first I will go to this name field, and I will add, let's say, value attribute, and the value will be form data dot name. So same goes for email. Here let's say value attribute, and it will be form data dot email. Same for the password here. So value attribute, it will be form data dot password. And if I go here for the password confirmation, value equals to form data dot password confirmation. And one more attribute I will add here that is most important, and this is on change event. And here, let's say handle on change input. So the same pattern I will copy, go here, let's put here, and I will go here, put here, and let's put here. For the time being, as we can see that this is coming in red color, and it is because this method or this function is not defined inside this component file. So let's copy this handle on change input, and here let's say const function name, and it will be react dot change event, and it is of HTML. Let's say input element. And then after inside here, inside this function, what I will do, let's say set form data, our state manager. And inside here, first I will get the existing values. So by using form data, like here the existing values from this state variable, and then after here it will be event dot target dot name equals to event dot target dot value. Now successfully, this is going to handle on change events. So whenever if I change the value, for example, for this name field, automatically what will have the existing values inside form data. First, it will go and set, and automatically what the value will be passed inside this name field, it will set into name property. So successfully, this is all about handle on change event. And one more thing, let's go inside this form tag, and I will add one more event that is called on submit. And here, let's say handle form submit. Remember, inside this form, we are handling two type of functionalities like login and register. So let's copy this function name, and here let's define one more function that is const handle form submit equals to event react dot form event, and it will be HTML form input, sorry, form element. And here, first I will disable like the default behavior of the form submission, and it will be event dot prevent default. And then after what I will do, so first I will check that if is login equals to 2, which means that if we have the login page, so in that case, let's say that for the time being, alert equals to login submitted. Otherwise, I will go into this else block, and let's say alert, let's say register submitted. So if I save these changes, let's go back to browser. If I reload, now here, this is our login form. So whenever if I click on this button, here we have some HTML validation. So let's put some dummy value, some dummy password, click on login. So right now, please login equals to true. So I'll click on this button, and now we can see login submitted. And whenever if I click on this button register, let's put some dummy value, click on register. Now this time its login equals to false. And now we can see register submitted. So what basically we have to do according to the condition of is login inside this if block, or inside this else block, we have to create two functions. So inside this first block, we have to handle the login by using our API backend login API. And inside this else block, again, the same set of API route, that is of registration from API backend. And one more thing, here we have two options. First, either we can use the login API and registration API by making our functions here inside this if block or else block. Or what we can do, all these functions what basically handle the process of login and registration are create into the context that is app provider.tsx. So what basically I mean, if I go to folder structure, remember also we have created a file called app provider.tsx. Now inside this file, I'll create the function that is login and register, which communicates with the API of API backend. Now inside this file, I will make use of create context and then use context. So here, first of all, I'll create interface. Let's app provider type, and here I'll create the login, and inside this login I will pass email, which is of a string type, password, which is of a string type, and this will be a function. So here this will be promise. And then after also inside this app provider we'll have the register function, and inside this register I will pass the name, which is of a string type, email, string type, password, string type, and here we have password confirmation, which is of a string type, and this is also a function. So promise and void. Let's save these changes, and here let's say const, I'll create app context first. So app context equals to, I will make use of create context, and automatically it will be imported from React. And then after inside this create context, it is of type app provider, or let's undefined, and here let's say const export const, let's app provider equals to, then I will go to this layout.tsx and I will use a syntax. Let's copy all this syntax from here, go inside app provider, and I will just put it here. Now this time, this will be app provider, and here I will go and use the functions like const login, and this will be, let's say, async in nature, and inside here we'll accept the email and password. Now this is login from this app provider, and the same way, let's say const register equals to, it is also async in nature, and it will accept the values like name, which is of a string type, email, string type, then password. I think here we have some mistake, and okay, so name colon is string, email it is a string, password it is string, and then password confirmation it is also a string. Now this is our second function block, and then after what I will do, I'll create a custom hook by the help of that. Whenever if we load that hook inside any of the component file in a very easier way, we can access all these assets or all these functions. So here let's export const, and I will call it as, let's say, my app hook. And here inside this, what I will do, let's say const context equals to, I'll use context, and automatically whenever we call this use context, it will be imported from React, and inside this use context I will pass this app context. So let's copy and put it here, and then after I will check that if context is undefined, so in that case let's throw an exception here. So throw new error, and inside this error let's say context will be wrapped inside app provider. Otherwise, let's go here and simply return our context. Save these changes. If I go to this app provider, I'll first remove this function keyword, and I will add export const app provider. Also, let's get this children React node. I'll remove this read only, and here let's remove this comma and just add equals to, and then after I'll go into this function block, and at the end let's say return parenthesis. I'll return the app provider. So here app context dot provider, and inside this let's say children. So what will provide from this app provider here inside this value? So first I'll provide the login function and register function, and few more things. If I go, let's create const, and for loading, so let's say is loading, not login, is loading, that is loading, and by default let's use state boolean, and by default equals to false. So also return or provide to a component, so is loading to provider, and in this case is loading, why it is giving an error here. Object literals does not exist inside OK, and this is because inside this app provider type, let's add here that is called is loading, and it is of type boolean. Now successfully error has been resolved. Now, one more thing, like later on in a moment inside this video, also we'll add some more functions like some more state variables. For example, auth token, it means whenever the user will be logged in. So after login, as we know from API backend, from login API, also we are generating the Sanctum token. So after getting that token value, also we have to use the concept of JS cookie, what the package we have installed, and by the help of cookie, that token will be stored into cookie as well as into a state variable. So for the time being, these are okay like login, register, and is login like the values of this function that we have to provide for our children components. Now next after, let's go back to inside layout.tsx and here I will import app provider from context app provider, simply copy and go here and wrap all these things like inside this toaster, navbar, all these children's, like all the components, just go inside app provider so that what the functions we are passing inside value attributes simply it will be accessible inside each of the component file. And now next after this layout.tsx, first I will use the concept of this app provider that is all about login functionality to this page.tsx of this auth folder. So here what I will do, I will go first here, let's say import, and I will import our custom hook that is my app hook from context app provider. And this is my app hook. We can see my app hook here. And now we can access the provider values like login, register, or is loading. So this time I want to access only for the login. So here, let's say const, I want to get login, and this will be from my app hook. And then after, let's copy this login. Now this is a function block. Then I will go here instead of login submitted. What I will do, let's say try catch block. So try, I will call await and this is login. Now inside this login, what are the parameters we want? So we want like email and password. So email and password we can get from this form data dot email and password form data dot password as it is await, so this function will be async in nature. Now then after, let's add catch block and inside this catch block, if we get any error, so simply let's say console.log and it will be let's say authentication error. Otherwise, this is for the login block. Otherwise, if I talk about the registration block, so also we have to call one more function that is register and this is from my app hook. Let's load. Then I'll go to this else block, and here it will be a wait register. And inside this register, we have to pass the name, email. If I check name, email, password, and password confirmation. So here it will be form data dot name, then form data dot email, form data dot password, then form data dot password confirmation. So successfully, and also we can see that here inside this name field, the error is coming in red color. Now white is coming because as we know that while creating any user, name field is required. So in this case, we have to make sure that this value is mandatory and it is not going to undefined. So either we can use like double comma, like double question mark and equals to. Now it will assure that this value is required and it is not going to undefined. Same goes for password confirmation. So double question mark and equals to. Now this is the concept what basically we have to add that if it is undefined, so in that case empty value will be used. If form data dot password confirmation, if it is undefined, so the empty value will be used. So this is not only the first option, also we have like in place of double question mark equals to, either we can use exclamation sign. So let's remove and add exclamation sign. Now this time inside this register function, we are passing name, email, password and password confirmation. Now what I will do for this register, let's cut and wrap inside this try block. Let's add catch block In case of any error, let's say console.log and simply error. Let's make a small here error and let's concatenate. So authentication error. I will use backtick symbol. So authentication error and I will use, let's say error. Same goes for register. Let's copy and put here. Now next we have to work for this login function first, and inside this login we are passing the email and password. So let's go inside this login function and here try block, catch block in case of any error, and also we'll add one more block that is called finally. And here I will make use of this set is loading. So like whenever if we hit the login button, I want that set is login equals to true. And after all completing all the functions, set is loading equals to false. And whenever if it is true, like is loading equals to true, I want to display the loader icon. And remember, also we have a component file inside this here loader.tsx. So what we can do, if I go to this app provider, also we can put a condition here that if is loading equals to true, so in that case we have to load our loader. This is a component, and if it is false, so in that case we have to display the children. So once we use this automatically, it has been imported as we can see loader from components and loader. And in this tsx file, as we are using lots of context like use state, create context, use context, so we have to make it as use client. Now save these changes. Now whenever is loading equals to true, so in that case we have to display the loader icon, and if it is false, so in that case the component will be displayed. Now let's go inside this login block. So here, and one more thing, let's go and define our API URL. So here let's say const API URL equals to, and if I go to the .env file, remember here we have environment variable. So next public API URL, I'll just copy and it will be called, let's say backtick symbol, and inside here process .env dot next public API URL. Now let's go inside login function. So to fire our HTTP request to call login API from API backend, also we have to use the concept of Axios. So before using, let's import. So it will be import Axios from Axios. And also to display our success response or error response, also will make use of toaster. So here let's import toast toast from React Hot Toast. Let's go to login function and here let's say const response equals to await. It will be Axios dot post request type because while calling our login API, we have to use post request type. And inside this, the first value we have to pass the API URL. So before passing the API URL of login API, let's go back to project terminal of API backend. And here, if I type the command called php artisan route colon list, hit enter, and now we can see the URL is API forward slash login. We have to use post request type and it is going to hit the login method of auth controller. So what we have to do, if I go and copy this API URL, so inside this post, let's say backtick symbol, dollar, curly pairs, so API URL, so it will return up API, but after API, also we have to use login. And inside the second value, we have to pass the data, what basically we have to send while calling our login API. So inside login API, remember, we have to pass the email and password. To confirm, if I go back to setup, let's go inside app, HTTP auth controller, and inside login, we have to pass email and password. So here, like the same keys we have used like email and password. So inside the second argument, let's pass an object. So it will be email and then after it will be password. Now here, for the time being, let's say console.log, let's print the response. Save these changes. Now if I go back to browser, and here, what I will do first, I will start the development server of API backend. So it's Laravel application PHP artisan serve. Hit enter. started. So if I go, let's reload one more time. Right click, inspect. Now, if I pass the login and passwords right now, as we know that user does not exist inside our users table. So in that case, we will get like authentication fail or invalid credentials. So let's pass some dummy data. This is email, something a dummy password. Now, if I click go to console tab first, let's click on this login button. And now we can see load the icon. And also, if I go into this network, and inside this network, this is all about our login API, API forward slash login. And inside this payload, here we have the data, what basically we send to our login API. And this is the response that is invalid credentials. And obviously, this user does not exist inside our database. So we got invalid credentials. Otherwise, it will return login successful. And additionally, also it will return the Sanctum token value. So first thing first, let's just get started to work for the registration API so that we'll create some user first and then after I'll create and go with the token or with the login API. Let's go back to editor and here the same concept I will implement inside this registration API. So try block, then catch block in case of any error, console.log, it will be error or here we'll have the finally block. In this case, let's say set is loading equals to false and at the top set is loading equals to true. Now let's go inside the try block. So it will be const response equals to await. It will be axios dot post request type backtick symbol dollar curly pairs. It will be API URL and we have to add register because after API, if I take a look inside our API URL, so we have to hit using post request type. This is API forward slash register and it will call the register method of auth controller. And while calling our registration API, we have to pass name, email, password, and confirm password. Let's go back to edit. And now next, if I talk about the form data, what basically we have to pass while calling this registration API. So we have to pass name, then after email and password. And if suppose if we add one more rule inside this password, and that is something called confirmed. So while addition of this confirm, we have to add one more parameter inside request and it will be called password underscore confirmation. Let's go back to our request. So it will be like here, we have to add one more data and this is password underscore confirmation. Now this time we are hitting our registration API and while calling this API, all these data now we are sending. Now here for the time being, let's say console.log and if I print response, save all these changes. Let's go back to browser and if I reload, let's open this developer tool. Click on register. Now this time we have to pass all these data. So quickly, let's pass some data. Password is from 1 to 8 and confirm password is also from 1 to 8. If I click on this button, it will call registration API. And one more thing, I think if I go here, let's go inside page.tsx and okay, here we have all these data to this register and this is register. Here we have the function. So successfully we have handled everything. Let's go back to browser, click on this button and now you can see it is calling register. If I go and now we can see in response we are getting user registered successfully and inside console now we can see data and inside this data status equals to 2 and user registered successfully. To confirm, if I go back to database, let's reload. And now we can see inside users table, here we have one number of row. Let's click on this table. And now we can see that successfully inside this table, now we have created a single user from our registration API form. Now, if I go, let's quickly create one more user. vk@gmail.com. Password is from 1 to 8. Password is from 1 to 8. Click on register. And successfully, as we can see inside data, like here, user registered successfully. Let's go, let's reload. And now we can see one more user. So successfully, now we have implemented the concept of registration API with Next.js application. Now let's go and quickly go over this login form so that what the user we have created, let's try to log in. So I am passing my detail. Password is from 1 to 8, and as we know that this user exists inside this table, so here let's click on this button login. It has called login API. If I go to this response data, and inside this data, now we can see message user logged in status equals to 2, and here we have the token value. So it means successfully now we have implemented the concept of login API and registration API inside this Next.js form. Now next, after getting this token value, what basically we have to do, we have to store that token value inside cookies. And remember, also we have installed one more NPM package, and that is js-cookies. So in this course, instead of using local storage, I will prefer cookies to store our authenticated token value. So let's go at the top of this file, and first I will import that package. So import cookies from, not cookie, it will be cookies from, and here chase-cookie. Let's copy these cookies. Then I will go to this login function, and after login, if I type, let's say if response dot data dot status, if it is true, so in that case cookies dot set, and inside here first we have to pass the cookie name. So I will call it as, let's say, auth token, and we have to pass the value. So it will be response dot data dot token, and also we have to pass additionally like expires in, like in which time we want that this token will be expired. So I want that after 7 days it is going to expire. So here we have to pass a property that is called expire, and let's pass a value. So simply means that this is the token value we are storing inside this cookie key called auth token, and this token will be expired in 7 days. After that, I want to also display a toaster message, and it will be something called toast.success, and we can say like login successful. If I save these changes, otherwise inside this else block, also we can do toaster like toast dot error, and we may say like invalid login details. And also one more thing, let's take a state variable so that after login, whenever if we get the token value, I'll store that token into my state variable. So let's say const, and here auth token, let's say set auth token equals to use state, and it is of type of a string. Also, you can store the null value. So null here. Now let's copy this set auth token, and if I go, so after login, simply I will call set auth token, and it will be response dot data dot token. And one more thing, after login, I want that user will be redirected to our dashboard layout. So here, what we can do, let's go and import use router, and it will be from, not from next router, it will be from next navigation. Let's copy this use router, and I will go then here, let's say const, let's say router equals to use router. Let's copy this router, and after login, let's say router dot push, and I want to go to our dashboard layout. So successfully, after login, here we are saving our token value inside our cookie called auth token, and it will be expires. So it will expire within 7 days, and toaster message will log in successful. Also inside our state variable, token will be saved, and we will be redirected into our dashboard layout. Save all these changes. Let's go back to browser. If I reload, let's pass the email and password, click on login, and now we can see login successful. And here after login, now we are on the dashboard layout. And also if I go application, like I'm using Chrome browser, so application, and inside the application, inside storage, we can see cookies, and we are storing the cookies inside localhost. And inside this localhost, now we can see auth token, and here we have the token value. So successfully, now we can see that we have implemented the concept of registration API and login API. And after login, also we have stored the token into our cookies, and also we have displayed the toaster message. So step by step, now we have implemented the concept of login API to this Next.js application. And then now next inside this app provider, I will make use of use effect. So let's go here. Let's say use effect, and inside this, what I will check, first I will check that if token is available, so const token equals to, so cookies, I'll use get method, and the cookie name we have called auth token. So if it is available, I will store into a state variable, so set auth token, and here our token value. Otherwise, the user will go to our login page. So here router dot push, and I will simply redirect to our authenticated page. Now successfully, here we have one more state variable, that is auth token, which is storing the login token value. Now next, let's copy this auth token and I will provide to my children's. So here it's auth token. It is giving error because here we have to go inside this provider type. Let's add auth token. It is type of a string, and also it will contain the null value. Now here all done. So what we can do inside our page.tsx of auth folder, page.tsx of dashboard folder, now simply we can access this auth token. So what we can do, first I will go and let's go first at this page.tsx of this auth folder, and inside here let's get this auth token, and after this I'll use the concept of use effect, and inside this use effect, I will check that if token is available, it means user is logged in. So in that case, I will not display the authenticated page. It means I have to redirect user to the dashboard layout. So here, let's say if auth token is available. So in that case, and this use effect is dependent on auth token and also on is loading. So what we can do inside is provider, also we have passed is logged in, so let's get here is logged in, so auth token is loading. And if I go here, if for example the token is set, so in that case router, let's first import, so import router, and it will be use router, it will be from next navigation. Let's copy this use router, I'll go here, let's say const router equals to use router. Let's copy this router dot push, and here we have to go at dashboard layout. Save these changes. Now as we know that user is logged in, so whenever if I type let's auth, hit enter, and now you can see automatically it has redirected into the dashboard layout. Once we type again auth here, hit enter, now we are now on the dashboard layout. So successfully, this is all about redirection. And also what we can do here, let's go to app provider, and by default I will make it as true value, and inside use effect let's say set is loading, and let's pass false value. Save these changes. Now once we go here, let's pass auth, hit enter, and now we can see we are on the dashboard layout. So successfully, and one more thing also we can implement, like if we go to the page.tsx of dashboard folder. Now let's go here and I will make use of import my app hook. Let's copy, so const, and I will import, let's say is loading first, then after also I will use auth token from my app hook. Let's use our use effect. So as we are using use effect, so first we have to make it use client, and then after here let's say use effect, and inside this use effect if token is set, okay, otherwise we have to redirect user to the login page. So here what I will do, it is dependent on auth token. So if token is not set, if auth token is not set, so in that case first I will import, let's say import let's say use router from next navigation. Let's copy and here const router equal to use router, and I think here we have some error and okay, instead of using array it will be an object because we are deep structuring. So is loading, let's copy this router. Simply we have to go router dot push and we have to go into our auth route and return. Save these changes and also we can add return here. Save these changes. Now it means that whenever if user is logged out, so in that case, if we try to go to the dashboard page, automatically user will be directed to our login page. Save these changes. So once we go here, let's go reload. So right now the user is logged in. So if we want the user to be logged out, so in that case also we have to handle our logout functionality. So let's go inside app provider, and inside this app provider, first inside this provider type, let's add one more block and it will be logout. This is also a function and let's return void here. Now I think at the last, let's put a comma here. Let's copy this logout and I will go at the end of this file after register. Let's say const logout, and inside this logout, what I will do first, let's say set auth token. It is going to contain the null value. Then after cookies dot remove, and in this case, I will remove auth token and also set is loading. It will be equals to false. Save these changes and also if I will make use of toaster, let's say toast dot success. Let's say user logged out. And now next, let's copy this logout. Then I will go here and just pass it inside this provider. Now then after, as we know that logout link is available on our navigation component. So let's go to folder structure. Then after, I will go into this components and as I can see, navbar.tsx. And here inside this navbar component, look at here, here we have the logout button. So first I will import this logout function from this provider. So let's import my app hook from context app provider. Then after let's say const logout and it will be my app hook, and then after simply copy this logout, go inside this link and here let's say on click and it will be logout. Save these changes and one more thing we want that after logout also we want user should be redirected. Let's say router dot push to our auth page. Save these changes. Let's go back to browser and here we have some error and it is because by default inside Next.js application all the components are server component. So to make it as a client component simply use client. Save these changes. Let's go back to browser. Now it's okay. If I go, so whenever if I click on this button, it will destroy first the token value from our state variable. Then after it will destroy from cookie. Then after it will display a post message and the user will be directed to our auth page. Let's click on this button and now we can see user logged out and automatically we can see we are on the auth page. Now if I try to open, let's say dashboard, hit enter, and now we can see user on the login page. So successfully. And one more thing, also we have to handle conditionally if user is logged in. So in that case, I can see only dashboard and logout. And when the user is logged out, in this case, I want to see only home and login. Let's go back to editor. And now next we have to work over the navigation menu items on the basis of user activity. So what we can do, as we know that by the help of this app provider, also we can import its auth token. So simply let's copy, go inside this navbar component and also let's destructure. So as we know that whenever the user will be logged in, so in this state variable, we'll have the token value. So I will just copy and I will use this state variable on the basis of some condition. So I will copy, go inside then inside this UL I'll use expression. So if auth token is not empty and it is going to contain some value, so in that case, this first two allies will be displayed inside this first parenthesis. I'll just cut and put here. And if the token does not exist inside auth token, it means if maybe this auth token will contain any null value. So inside that case, the second parenthesis with these two allies will be available. So this error is because let's cut, use fragment, put here, let's go here for this second HTMLs, let's use fragment and just put here. Save these changes. Now if I go and now you can see if I reload. So here we have two links for the time being, that is home and login, because right now user is logged out. So if I pass the user detail like here, the username and password like email and password, click on login. So user is logged in and now we can see here we have two links called dashboard and logout. And if I try to open, it's auth, hit enter. Now we are on the dashboard page. And if I try to go inside our home page, also we can see the same link called dashboard and logout. Let's click on dashboard. So here we have the dashboard. Now once we click on this logout, click here. And now we can see user logged out. And here we have the links as home and login. To successfully, now step by step, the authentication process successfully has been implemented inside this Next.js application. Now then after, we have to work over the CRUD operations. Let's go and log in over this CRUD operations of this post form, as well as also we have to work over the tabular format of post list. And now next we have to work over the functions of product based operation. Let's go back to app folder, dashboard folder, and then I will open page.tsx. So before creating the product type interface, if I talk about the form elements, so we can see inside this form, here we have product title, product description, product cost, and product banner image. And one more thing, the same form I will use for edit operation. This means that whenever if I click on this record of this edit button, all these data, existing data will go to this form and all these labels like add will convert into update or edit. Let's go back to editor and then after I'll create first interface, let's say product type, and inside this object we'll have the title which is of a string type. Then after we have called description which is of a string type. Then after we have cost which is number. And if I talk about the file, so here we have, if I see right now here we have only the file button, but also inside edit operation, I'll create a preview image. So inside this, we'll have two more properties called file. It is type of file or it will contain the null value. And then after also here we'll have a property called banner. I will call banner URL. It is type of a string and for the time being it is an empty value. So successfully this is our interface. Let's go here and I'll create state variable first. So const, let's say form data, it will be set form data equals to use state, and it is of type product type, and the initial value of all these elements like title, empty value, then after description, empty value, cost, empty value, or let's say it will be 0. Then after file, as we can see, the default value is null. So let's put null here and banner URL, let's put an empty value. So successfully, this is our state variable. Then after I will go to the form, so add product, and inside this add product, let's format. So class name. So here we have name, placeholder, required, and let's do some formatting first. Last name, name, placeholder, required. This is for description. Then after here we have the cost. Here we have for the cost. And this time I will uncomment this commented lines and let's do formatting as well for this image component. So this is image component. And finally here for the input type file button, so class type IT and file. So inside each of the input field, I will add two more attributes. That is first value. So this is title. So form data dot title. Then after for description value, it will be form data dot description. Then here for the cost value, it will be form data dot cost. Then here for image, this src, I will make use of form data dot banner URL. And then now for this input type file button, instead of using value attribute, I'll use ref attribute. So here ref equals to, and inside this I'll use the file reference. Let's go at the top of this file, and here let's say const file ref equals to react dot use ref, and inside here HTML input element, and initially it will contain the null reference. Let's copy, go here, and inside this I'll just put it here. And after this value or ref attribute, now one more attribute also we have to add inside each of the input field, and that is handle on change event. So it will be on change event. Let's pass a function that is handle on change event. Now what I will do, I'll simply copy this on change event. Let's add to this cost field, to this description, and for this title. Then after I will copy, let's go here to this const function, and inside this function event, it will be react dot change event, and it is of type like HTML input element. And here inside this handle on change event, first I have to check that, as we know, like the banner image is an optional field to upload. So first we have to check that if any file uploaded. So for this, let's event dot target dot files. So in that case, it means file has been uploaded. Otherwise, inside this else block, no file uploaded. So in case of no file uploaded, what I will do, let's copy this set form data, and here with the set form data, first I will read the existing values. Let's say form data, and then after it will be event dot target dot name equals to event dot target dot value. Now, in case if file has been uploaded, so in that case, let's go inside this if block, set form data, and inside this, first I have to get the existing values, so it will be form data. Then after file, if I talk about the form data, so here we have the file banner URL as well. So file equals to this event dot target dot files, and add the zeroth value. Then after, let's say banner URL, it will be URL dot create object URL, and then after let's pass the file reference, so event dot target dot files, and add the zeroth value. So here we have two cases. Whenever the file has been uploaded, this code will get executed, and whenever no file will be uploaded, this code gets executed. But each time we get the data inside this state variable called form data. Now after this handle on change event, what I will do next, simply I will go to this form tag, and here let's add on submit, and here let's say handle form submit. Simply I will copy this function name, then after simply let's say const function name, and here let's say event, it will be react dot form event, it will be HTML form elements, and then after, first of all I will disable event dot prevent default, like the default form submission, and then after for the time being, let's say console.log, and I will pass form data. If I save these changes, and let's add a comment line, this is form submission. If I save these changes, let's go back to browser, and okay, here we have some error inside console, and this is about src property of image component. So what I will do for this, let's go. I will copy. So first I will check that if it is set, so in that case only I will display this image component. So let's cut and just put here. Save these changes. Let's go back to browser, and if I reload, and now we can see there is no error inside console. So next after, let's pass some dummy title, dummy description, dummy cost value. So this time I'm not going to submit any banner image. Click on add product. Now we can see that inside form data, here we have cost, description and title. Now let's say that if suppose I'm going to submit any of the banner image, for example this image, so in that case we have all these data. Click on this button, and now we can see that inside this form data, here we have banner URL, cost, description, file, and title. Now, after getting all these data, basically we have to call our product API using post request type. And by using API from API backend, this product we have to create and save inside our products table. Let's go back to editor. Now next, to call API URL, let's go back to a handle on submit function. And here, what I will do first, let's create try catch block. In case of any error, simply let's say console.log and it will be error. Then after, I'll go into this try block, and before that, let's go back to our API backend, and I will start, let's say PHP addition route colon list. And now inside this routes list, if I talk about that which API URL we have to hit to create product, so we can see we have to hit using post request type, and the API URL will be API forward slash products. It will call the store method of product controller. Let's go back to editor. So inside this, what I will do, so if I go at the top of this file, let's first import Axios from Axios, and also import, let's say toast from React Hot Toast, and also we want to import, let's say Sweet Alert from Sweet Alert 2. Now then after, let's scroll down, and here inside this try block, what I will do, let's say const response equals to await Axios, and I'll use post request method, and inside this we have to first pass API URL. And remember, if I go to the .env file, so here we have the API URL. So let's copy this, go inside page.tsx, and here I'll use backtick symbol, then after dollar curly pairs, and it will be process.env next public API URL. So after API URL forward slash API URL endpoint will be called products. And additionally, also we have to pass form data, and remember this is a protected route, which means that also we have to pass authorized token value. So if I go at the top of this file to check our auth token, so already we are getting auth token from this my app hook. So here, now next we have to pass the form data, and form data we can get our form data the state variable. So here inside this simply form data, and then after inside this third argument this will be headers, and inside headers authorization will be key, and inside authorization backtick symbol, then bearer, and we have to pass authorized token value. So the token will be curly pairs, means dollar curly pairs, and the token is inside this auth token. And also we are submitting our form data, so one more header key we want, and that is content type, and it will be multipart form data. So after authorization comma, it will be content type, and here it will be multipart forward slash form hyphen data. So successfully, and as we are using await, so it will be async in nature. So successfully, by following this handle form submit function, this is the way, by the help of that we are calling our products API using post request type, and additionally we are passing authorization inside header and content type inside header. So for the time being, let's go. So console.log, and it will be response. If I save these changes and let's go first to our API backend. Now here inside this product controller, this is index method to list all the products, but this time we are hitting a store method of product controller. So this is the method which is responsible to create products and save inside our table. So if I take a look over this function or the method what we have created, so data, title here, user ID and banner image, and I think we have some more fields. Let's go first inside our database table, go to products. So inside this table schema, we can see we have title, description, banner image, cost. So if I talk about these three columns, so here we have missed something. So this is only the title. Then after inside here, let's say description and it will be request description. Let's copy put two more times. This is for banner image, and I think that banner image is okay here. I want only cost, so it will be cost, and here it will be cost. And remember, all these parameters like title, description, cost, banner image, all these keys with the same name we are passing inside a request form data. And as we can see, title, description, cost, and here banner URL. So instead of banner URL, let's pass banner image. And here it is coming error because it is type of product type. So instead of calling banner URL, let's say banner image. And here let's remove this one, save these changes. And I think we have changed banner URL to banner image. So here we have some error. Save these changes, and if I scroll, it will be banner image, and here it will be banner image. Save these changes. Now if I go back to browser, let's reload and let's pass some product data. So it will be product 1, let's say sample content 1, price will be let's say 100. I'm not going to upload any banner image. Let's click on this button add product. And if I go to network, and here we have some error, that is exhaust error. So let's go to network, click on this API link, payload, and inside payload we are passing title, description, cost, and banner image. It is coming empty because we didn't upload any photo here. But why we are getting some error? And this is something okay. Actually, we have to start the development server. So PHP artisan serve, hit enter, start it. Now let's go reload. So it will be product 1, sample content 1, 100. Click on add product, and successfully inside this response, if I open, go inside data, now you can see status equals to true and product created successfully. So if I go back to table, let's go click on browse button, and now we can see here we have the title, description, cost, and the user ID. So this is the user ID automatically fetched whenever if we have passed authorized token value. Now let's upload our banner image and see that how it behaves. So if I go here, product to sample content to let's say 200, and this time I'm going to upload a banner image. For example, this image selected, click on add product. Now in response, we can see here product created successfully. So if I go back to DB table, click on browse again, and okay, it is not coming. And why it is not coming? Let's go back to editor. And if I go back to our handle form submit, and let's first check that what we are getting inside this form data. So if I go back to browser, let's go inside network tab, inside this second API call, inside payload, and now we can see inside this banner image, here we have a temporary link of that file what we have uploaded. But inside this file key, we are sending complete file information in binary format. But the thing is that inside our API backend, instead of file, we are searching the file information inside this key called banner underscore image. So what we can do, either we can change this banner image to file, or it's better if I go to frontend setup, and here let's go first at the interface. So instead of file, this is file. So let's go and pass file here, and this file will be, let's pass string here, because I want that this banner image will contain the file information. So this is file banner image. So in this case, I will pass null, and for file, I will pass the empty value banner image its file, and here also the null value. Now if I scroll down, so banner image is now containing the file information. So here it is banner image, and this is file because it is containing the file information, and this is containing the image URL. Now if I scroll down, now instead of form data dot banner image, this is now form data dot file, form data dot file. And one more thing, let's remove this style attribute, which is display equals to none. Simply, I have removed, save all these changes. Let's go back to browser. And if I reload, let's pass the product information. For example, product number 2, it's a sample content 2, or instead, I will pass product 3, sample content 3. It will be 300. And this time, let's upload a banner image. For example, this image. Now we can see that we have removed display equals to none. That's why here we have the banner image preview of this product. Now let's click on this add product button, and successfully, now we can see that inside this banner image, here we have the complete file information, and hopefully inside our table, if I reload, and now we can see banner image has been uploaded. So successfully, this is our first API implementation of product-based concept, where we have seen that how to create product by sending our product information to API backend. And also we can confirm that what the file we have uploaded inside this banner image has been uploaded inside API backend or not. So to confirm, if I go back to API backend setup, and if I go into a storage folder, into app folder, public disk, and as you can see that here we have the products folder, and inside this products folder, look at the file what basically we have uploaded. This is p2 some random characters dot jpg, and if we compare the name with the database value, so here we have products, this is the folder, and inside that folder here we have p2 some random characters dot jpg. So successfully here we have three products. Now let's quickly create some more products. I'll go here, and one more thing, after creating this products into table, I want a toaster that product created successfully, and also I want that form should be reset. So what to do? Let's go back to front-end setup, and here inside handle form submit, after saving data, it's if response dot data dot status, if it is true, so in that case toaster means toast dot success, and product created successfully. Or in fact, instead of typing this static message, also we can get the message from response. Remember, inside our response, also we are sending the message that is inside this message key, product created successfully. So instead of typing the static message, also we can pass response dot data dot message, and then after I want that form should be reset. So in that case, what I will do, I will go and copy this complete object which all these property, and here simply after this toaster message it says set form data, and inside this let's pass this complete object, save all these changes. Let's go back to browser, let's reload, and here if I type, let's say product number 4, sample content number 4, let's say 400, and if I go, let's choose any profile photo, for example this one, click on add product. Now you can see product created, and also we can see that form has been reset. But one more thing, also we can see the same file name with this choose file. So also we have to reset this input my file button. But here, if I go to confirm, and now we can see here we have the second image uploaded. And to confirm, let's go back to API backend, our storage folder, app, public products, and now we can see here we have the second image. Now we have to work over the reset of input type file button. Let's go back to frontend setup. And after this set form data, simply if file reference, remember for input type file button, here we have created file reference. So simply we have to check that if file reference has current value. So here file reference dot current, if it has a value, so in that case simply file reference dot current dot value equals to empty. Save all these changes. Let's go back to browser. If I reload, now I will create product number 5. Let's say product number 5. This time sample content, or I will call only content number 5. Let's say 500. Let's select any of the banner image. For example, this one. We can add product, and now we can see product created successfully, and also we can see that form has been reset. Now this is all about how to create product and how to save inside our database. Now in the next API, we have to implement the concept that how to read all the data from this products table and how to list inside this tabular format. Let's go back to editor. Now for this, what we can do simply inside this use effect, I will call a function, or before that, let's add single line comment inside each of the function. This is, let's say, on change form inputs, and this is page load when auth token is available, and here form submission. So inside this use effect, I will call a function, and let's call it as fetch all products. And this function, let's copy. I'll go here. So const function name, and inside this function, I will call, let's say, try block. Then here catch block. Inside this error, first I will go and print the error message in case if we have console.log error. Let's go inside this try block, and here what I will do, let's say const response equals to await axios dot get method, and inside this I have to pass the API URL. And if I go back to API backend or route list, so here we have to hit like API products, but this time we have to use the get request type, and this API will call the index method of product controller. And remember, inside product controller, inside index method, it is listing like all the products according to the user ID. So let's go back to frontend setup, and here it will be dollar curly pairs, so process dot env dot, if I copy this API URL, and then after forward slash call products, and here I have to pass inside headers authorization key. So authorization will be key, and inside authorization backtick symbol, let's say bearer space, and the token value, so dollar curly pairs, and it will be auth token. Let's copy this response, and this is await, so here it will be async in nature. Now let's copy this response, and it will be console.log and response. Save all these changes. Let's go back to browser, and if I go to console tab, and now we can see that here inside this data, if I open, now we can see inside data, here we have 5 products. And remember, these all products we have created while calling our create product API. Now what we have to do next, simply we have to read all these data of these products, and we have to bind those data with this tabular format. Let's go back to editor. It's very simple. So first I'll create a state variable, and here let's say const products, let's say set products, it will be use state, and here it is type of product type, and initially it will contain an empty array. Now then after, let's copy set products the state manager. So after loading data inside fetch all products, let's remove, and I will call set products, and here it will be response dot data dot products. If I check the key, so it will be response dot data dot products, and it will list all these products. So then after, simply I'll go to a tabular format. Let's close this one. So this is tabular format, and here instead of using this static row, let's use expression. And here products dot map function, I will iterate over each single product. So single product index, and here inside it, what I will do, let's go and cut this tr and just put here, or instead of using this curly pairs, I'll use parenthesis and put here. Now instead of using this static value, this time this is product ID. So it will be single product dot ID, and it is giving error. It's because as you know that this products is a type of product type, like this products is a type of product type, and inside this product type we don't have an ID attribute. So let's add ID. It is optional and it is type of number. Save these changes. Now if I scroll, error has gone. Now this is product title. So it will be single product dot title. Now here for our image preview, like what the image we have stored at the banner image for product. So later on we'll do, but here this is cost. So single product dot cost, and here we have the edit button and delete button. So what I will do, let's simply on click in front of this edit button. So on click, and inside this I will create a function, and inside this function my concern is that I will use the same function what basically we have created for this form submission. So I will use the same function add operation what basically we did, and also I want to use this function for edit operation. So inside this handle form submission, remember we have used the concept of state variable, because by the help of this state variable, we had sent all form data. So inside edit operation, what I will do, I'll use the concept of this set form data to set all data whenever if I click on edit button of any single product. So inside this parenthesis, it will be set form data, parenthesis, curly pairs, ID, and it will be single product dot id. Then here title, it will be single product dot title. Then after we have cost, it will be single product dot cost. Description, it will be single product dot description. And here we can see some red color arrow, and it's because if I go back to product type, let's make all these fields are optional. So just add question mark, question mark, question mark, and question mark, only title is required. So if I scroll down, and now we can see error has been resolved. So if I save these changes, let's go back to browser, and if I reload, okay, here we have some error, that is expression expected, and it is coming on page.tsx of dashboard at line number 112. If I go, let's go here, 112. And I think that here we have some mistake inside this code. And okay, I can see that the curly pairs, what basically we have opened for this expression, is not closing yet. So here, let's close this one, save all these changes. Let's go back to browser, and hopefully I will see that error has been resolved and successfully. As you can see that automatically now all the products what basically we have created now listed inside this tabular format. Now here we have the single error, that is key prop. So as expected, let's go back to our front end setup, and inside this tr, let's add key prop. So either I can pass index. If I save, let's go to browser. If I reload, error has been resolved. Or also we can use like here single product dot id. Save these changes, and also I want to display the image what basically we have uploaded for products here. So let's go and uncomment this line. Inside this src, it will be single product dot banner underscore image. And one more thing, before adding this banner image to this src attribute, also we have to make sure that this field will have the value. So what we can do, just copy and I'll use an expression. And here, let's say that if it is not empty, so in that case, this the image component or the HTML we have to display. So let's go inside parenthesis into it. Otherwise, here we'll have called no image. Save these changes. Let's go back to browser. And now we can see here we have one more error, that is invalid URL. And this is because like inside product, the banner image URL, we are getting something like this products forward slash and the banner image name. And obviously, this file is not accessible, or this file is an invalid URL for image component to load inside src attribute. So how to get the perfect URL? So here we have two options. Either we can use the API URL, like here, the API URL in front of this src attribute, or it's better, like inside API backend, we have to send the proper banner image URL. So what we can do, let's go back to API backend inside this index method. After this get method, let's use after this get method, I'll use the map function. So here function, and inside this function, basically we have to iterate over each single product. So it will be product banner image. Let's copy. So if banner image, if it has a value, so in that case I'll return asset the helper function, which basically returns the path to our public folder. And inside asset folder, then after here we'll have our banner image path. And if suppose the banner image field is completely empty, so in that case simply return the null value. So it will be returned and product. So if I save these changes, now if I go to a browser, let's reload and go to console tab. And inside this network tab, if I go to products list, let's open. And inside this, here we don't have the banner image, so it's null. Let's open the second one, null here. And now we can see inside the second ID, if I go, it is all about the product URL, then products, and then after, here we have the banner image name. So if I copy this complete path, let's copy this URL. And if I open into browser tab, and now we can see 404 file not found. And this is because remember, we have created all the files and saved inside the folder called storage, app, public, and products folder. But here, according to this code, we are searching our banner image to this public folder. But the question is that there is no image exist inside this public folder. So how can we link this storage folder to this public folder? And it is using a artisan command called php artisan storage colon link. So by using that command, simply we will create a storage link to this public folder. Let's go back to our terminal, and here if I stop the development server, let's stop development server. So it will be php artisan storage colon link. Hit enter, and okay, why it is giving error? Storage link, okay, storage link not list, storage link. Hit enter, and now we can see a link has been created to this public folder, like storage app public folder, to our main public folder. Let's start development server. So it will be php artisan serve started. Now to confirm, if I go back to API backend folder, and now we can see public, and here we have the storage folder, and look at here we have the icon, which means that this is a link of storage, app, and public and products folder. So this is the products folder completely linked now with this products folder of this public folder. Now this time, and one more thing, if I see the URL, so inside URL, here we have the product URL, then after products and product name. But before that, also we need the link of storage. What basically I mean, simply it will be something called storage forward slash products and then after banner image. So it means also we have to add keyword called storage inside this URL. So here it will be inside this asset. Let's type storage forward slash. We have to concatenate with the banner image name. Save these changes. If I go back to browser, let's reload. And okay, I can see that our Next.js application is not allowing to load the image file from this local host. So what we can do, just copy the IP address or the local host IP, go inside our frontend setup, then I will go and open next.config.ts and inside this object here, let's say images, and inside this, let's say domains, and inside this domains, inside this array, simply pass IP of that. Save these changes. Now, once we save, let's go here. Let's restart our server. So it will be npm run dev. Hit enter. Started. Now, if I go, let's reload. And now we can see that successfully for product number 3, product number 4, and product number 5, here we have the banner image. And in this case, the image was not available. So that's why here we have no image. So this is the first option. By configuring this next.config.ts, we have allowed this domain to load the banner images. And also, if I go and comment these lines of code, and let's go back to browser, let's reload. And again, we have the same error. So to fix that, here we have the second option. If I go to page.tsx, now this time, instead of using image component, I'll simply use the image tag of HTML. If I save these changes, let's go back to browser. And if I reload, and now we can see that now product banner image now successfully gets loaded. Now next we have to work on the edit functionality. So what basically I mean to say that this form I want to use for add operation, what basically we already using. Now in case of edit operation, whenever if I click on any of the edit button of these products, simply we have to read product informations set inside our state variable called form data, and automatically that state variable form data will load all the data inside this form. Let's click on this button. So whenever if I click on this button, what will happen? If I go here, so on click, this is going to set all these values by the help of this state manager inside form data or state variable. And remember, whenever the value will be set automatically, this form, as you can see, form data.title, form data.description, it automatically reads all those values. If I go here, let's reload. And if I click on this edit button of this product number 2, and now we can see product 2, sample content 2, and 200. If I click on this product number 4, and now we can see product number 4. And one more thing, in case of edit operation, let's update the label. For example, this will be update product and update product. Let's go back to editor. And also one more thing, also we want that whenever if I click on this edit button along with the product information, also we want that if the product has a banner image, this banner image also should upload, also should display with this product information. So what we can do, if I go here, remember inside our product type interface, here we have a key called file, and according to this file, we have the condition here inside this image preview that is called file. So simply what we can do, if I go here inside this edit button, the click event, and here simply let's say file equals to single product dot banner image. If I save these changes, let's go back to browser, and if I reload, click on this edit button. And now we can see again we have the same error of this that next application is not allowing this host. So what we can do, simply let's go and uncomment all these lines, and according to standard let's use this image component. Now if I save all these changes, let's go back to browser, let's reload. Here we have the product data. Let's click on this product number 3, and now we can see the product information along with the banner image. Now let's change the label. So for label, what we can do, we have to create a state variable which is going to track that the operation is add operation or the edit operation. So here, let's say const, it will be, let's say, is edit set is edit, and here use state, and initially it will contain the false value. And here, let's copy this state manager called set is edit. And in case of this click event, at last, simply let's say set is edit equals to true. And whenever if is edit equals to true, it means that it is an edit operation. So in that case, here, let's cut this add label. So here we have to check that if is edit, if it is true, so in that case, it will be for edit operation. Otherwise, it will be for add operation. Now same goes for button. So if I go here inside this add product, let's cut expression. It will be is edit. If it is true, so in that case, it will be, let's say, date. Otherwise, it will be for add. So I save these changes. Let's go back to browser. Now if I reload, by default, it is for add operation. Now, whenever if I click on this fourth number product, click on edit button, and now we can see edit product and update product. Now, next, here we have to work on the update operation. So, for example, if I submit, like if I click on this button, so it will submit all those data. And remember, update operation, we have to use put request type. If I go to API routes, let's open PHP artisan route colon list. And now we can see while updating any product, we have to hit using put or patch request type, and API endpoint will be API forward slash products forward slash product ID, and it will hit update method of product controller. Let's go first. And before that, let's start development server. Now, if I go back to our API backend, scroll down up to update method. And inside here, we can see that inside this request, we are getting the title, banner image, and I think some informations are missing inside this update method. So what we can do, for example, if we are passing also the modified description, so in that case, let's each set. First, we have to check that if we are getting the description, let's copy, just put here, otherwise we'll have the existing description. So the existing description will coming from this description. Let's remove this request from here. Now save these changes. Same goes for cost. So here it will be cost. Let's copy cost, cost, and cost. So inside update operation, this is for title, description, cost, banner image, and obviously we'll have the user ID. Now if I save all these changes, let's go into our front end setup, and here inside our handle submit function, and inside this handle form submit, what I will do, I'll use the condition of is edit. So inside this try block, let's say is edit. If it is true, it means that this is enabled for edit operation. Otherwise, if it is false, so it means we have to go and perform add operation. So all the existing code, what basically we did, this is all about for add operations. So simply, I'll go and cut, remove this console.log and just put inside this else block. Now for this if block, it means for edit operation, let's say const response equals to await axios, and I will use post request method, and here backtick symbol. Let's copy this URL, and remember for update operation we have to hit using put request type, and also we have to pass product ID into URL, but this time we can see that we are using post request type. So how we can achieve the update operation? Now the concept here is method spoofing. So method spoofing is nothing, it is at runtime whenever if we change the request method, it is known as method spoofing. So we can see that we are using post request type, but dynamically at runtime, we change the request method from post to put request method. So this is the concept of method spoofing. Then after, let's pass the form data, and inside this third argument, we have to pass additionally as header. This will be headers, and inside these headers, let's say authorization, and inside this authorization we have to pass bearer token, and also we have to pass content type multipart form data. So I have just copied these two headers from post request method of add operation and just paste inside this edit operation. But remember, if I go to our route list, let's open one more time. So PHP artisan route colon list. Remember, to perform the update operation, we have to hit this URL using put request method. So if I go, let's start development server, go back to front-end setup. Now additionally, with this form data, also we have to pass one more parameter that is most important to convert our request from post request method to put request method. So here I'll just cut this form data, put an object, I'll get all form data, and additionally into that object, into form data object, I will add one more attribute, and that is underscore method equals to put request type. So here we are using post request type, but by using this method, we are converting at runtime from post to put request type. If I go here, let's say console.log, and it will be response. If I save these changes, let's go back to browser, and if I reload, let's go inspect, go to console tab, and for example, if I go to this product number one, click on update button, here we have the existing informations. If I type product one updated, if I click on this update product button, now here we have some error and error. Let's go to network tab. Let's open and OK. Also, we have to pass the product ID, but right now for update operation, we didn't pass the product ID. So that's why here we have some error. Let's go open page.tsx. So after products, also we want the ID. So how to get the ID? So for ID, let's go, and as we can see that inside this product type, also here we have an ID attribute. So what we can do while setting our form data for edit operation, here we have the ID. Now this is what we can get here. Now after this products, inside this, let's pass dollar curly pairs, and it will be form data dot ID. If I save these changes, let's go back to browser. If I reload, click on this first product, and here if I type updated, click on button, and now you can see inside this URL, if I click inside this headers, if I see the URL that is localhost 8000 port API products and then product ID. So this is all about payload information, and if I go here inside preview, now you can see product data updated. Now if I reload, and now we can see product data updated. And one more thing, I want that once we update the data, form will be reset and also data will be reloaded inside this tabular format. What we can do, just go here, and the same concept, this is form reset. Let's go and cut all these things from here and put after this if else block, or what we can do, this is for add operation. So it's okay here. And first I'll go copy this toaster message. Let's put here this message, what we got from response, and also no need to reset our form because this is for edit operation. Also, we have to reload the tabular format. So for tabular format data, here we have the function, and the function is fetch all products, just copy, go inside for edit operation, and let's call here. Save these changes. Now if I go, let's reload. For example, this time I want to update this product number 2, click on edit button, and let's say product 2 updated, click on update product button. Now you can see product data updated and also here product 2 updated. Now let's see that whenever if I want to upload any banner image with the product information, how it works. So for example, again I will go and click on this product 1 updated. This time this is information which does not have a banner image. Let's go choose a photo, for example, this one, upload it, click on button, update product, and now we can see product data updated, and automatically we can see that now banner image has also been updated. So successfully, this is like update operation of this CRUD based operation from API backend. Now last, we have to work over this delete button functionality. So what basically I want that whenever if anyone clicks on this delete button, first it will ask a confirmation, and that confirmation I will open using sweet alert. Let's go back to editor. Now, if I go and search for delete button, and here it is, let's go right on click first, and inside this, let's say handle delete product, and inside this, I will pass the product ID. So it will be single product dot ID. Now let's cut this function and here parenthesis and put here. Let's copy this function name and then I will go at the top of this file and here let's add a comment. This is to list all products. Let's go and close. And if I go here, let's say const function. And inside this function, actually, we are taking or we are passing the ID product ID. So it will be ID, which is a number type. Now here inside this spelling mistake. Now here try block. Let's add catch block in case of any error. Console.log error. And inside this try block, first thing first, we have to display the switch alert. So for switch alert, obviously here we have installed called switch alert 2. Now, if I go back to browser, let's open switch alert 2, hit enter. Now this is a website called switchalert2.github.io. Let's click on into this first link. And if I scroll down, and now we can see here we have swal.fire. If I click on this button, this is an alert. So what I will do, I will copy the whole code from here. Let's go to our setup and inside here, our delete handler, inside this try block, just paste all the code. And now next, I will save all these changes. Let's go back to browser, go here, let's reload. And if I click, for example, delete button of this product one updated, and now we can see successfully we have implemented the concept of switch alert. Now what next? I want that whenever if any user click into this button called just delete it. So in this case, I will call the delete API to delete this product. So if I go back to API routes, and if I go to the list, so we can see that here we have the delete method and we have to call the API endpoint as API forward slash products forward slash product ID. And in this case, it will call destroy method of product controller. So to confirm, if I go back to API backend, and now we can see inside this destroy method, here we have the delete functionality. Now let's go back to frontend setup. In this case, result is confirmed. It means that OK button has been pressed. So in this case, let's first async because we are going to use a wait keyword. Now here, let's use one more try catch block or it's better. Let's go and cut all these lines of code, remove this try catch, put here, and inside here, inside this result dot is confirmed, I'll use try catch block error. So it will be console.log error. And then after, let's go inside this try block and here, let's say const response equals to await axios dot. I'll use delete method and here we have to pass the API URL. So for API URL, let's copy this URL. And if I go here, let's pass. And after products, I want product ID and it is coming into this function. So let's copy forward slash ID. And instead of passing ID something like this, let's cut to dollar curly pairs and ID. And inside the second argument, it will be headers. And inside headers, let's say authorization key. And inside this authorization, we have to pass bearer and the token value. So if I go, let's copy this authorization and the bearer token value. So here we have red color arrow because we are using await. So before this result, let's add async keyword. And successfully, now in response, if I go, so let's say if response dot data dot status. So in this case, let's say toaster dot success and here response dot data dot message. And then after, also we have to call this fetch all products method. So let's copy this function and just put it here. Now save all these changes. Let's go back to browser. If I go, let's reload, close this developer tool. And for example, I want to delete, for example, this product number 4. Click on delete button. If I click on cancel, no activity. Now, if I click on this yes delete it button, and one more thing, after delete, I want that this message will be displayed. Let's go and instead of this toaster, let's comment and put here. Now, if I save these changes, let's go and reload. Instead of using toaster, now this time I'm using sweet alert again. Let's click on this delete button. Let's delete it. And now we can see your file has been deleted. And also we can see that this tabular format now reloaded. And here there is no more product number 4. So successfully, let's delete one more. And in this case, I will use the toaster. Let's go and comment all these lines of code. Let's uncomment this toaster. If I go, let's reload. And for example, I want to delete this product number 2. Click on delete button. Let's delete it. And now you can see product deleted successfully. So this is all about our CRUD operation using Next.js and API backend where we have used the concept of API processes, API concept of level 12th version. Let's click on logout. Now this time I will run this application totally what we had seen inside demonstration. So first thing first, let's create an account. So click on register and here I'll create a new user. For example, this user password is from 1 to 8. 1 to 8. Let's copy this email. Click on register button. Successfully, user has been registered and I didn't get any response. If I go to a users table and we can see user registered. Let's go email, password, click on login. And now we can see login successful. In this case, there is no product because this user does not has added any product. Let's go and create the first product of this user. So product number 1, sample content 1, 100. I'm not going to add any image. Click on add product. Product created successfully. And after addition, I can see there is no listing. Let's go to table, go to products. And I can see that product has been added, but why it is not loading? And it is because the thing is that we have to call this function fetch all product in case of add operation as well. Now inside this handle form submit, let's go inside this else block. In case of add operation, let's put at the top of it. Save these changes. And one more thing, I want that after registration, also we get the toaster message. So for that, let's go inside this context folder, app provider, and inside here, inside this register, instead of using console.log, simply let's say toaster.success, and here message will be response dot data dot message. Save these changes. Now if I go, let's click on logout button, user logout. Let's create one more here. Password is from 1 to 8. I'll just copy this email, click on register, and I can see user registered successfully. Let's click on login, click on login. I can see login successful. Let's create some product of this user. So product number 1, sample content 1, 100. Click on add product. Now we can see product 1 added without having any image. Let's type one more product, sample content 2, 200. This time I will upload this banner image. Click on add product, product added. Click on edit button. Let's say that I want 250. Click on update product. And now we can see cost updated. I want to delete this product. Click on delete. Yes, delete it. Now finally, we have completed this course by going through the step-by-step process of Next.js application and also included APIs backend as level 12th version. So I hope that this course was too much informative and interesting, and obviously you can add this course into resume into your CV. So for this interesting course, please hit the like button to like this course, subscribe to this channel. Now let's meet our next amazing course. So for this video session guys, thank you for watching and have a great day.